All right, Nick, let's talk about the Colorado Buffaloes. Coach Prime really has this team moving, whether you see it that way or not. Because we think about it, 2022 season, 1 win. They have gotten 4 wins the 2023 season, despite, I would say, having some pretty tough competition in that division. I think that people didn't give them enough credit for how tough some of the teams they were going against are. But there was one big deficiency this team had that I think really, really held them back, and that was the offensive line group. But now Coach Sanders has gone in and really done his work in getting that group major upgraded, and his son, Shador Sanders, quarterback of the Buffaloes, went ahead and gave it his seal of approval as well. Let's get into this article and we can talk about it on the other side. This is from NBC Sports, and it says Colorado inarguably took significant strides in its first year under Coach Deion Sanders, jumping from 1 win in 2022 to 4 in 2023, even with a lot of injuries and a deep Pac-12 took a considerable toll in the second half of the season. However, the Buffaloes were prevented from taking a bigger leap by a thin offensive line. The Buffaloes allowed an average of 4.67 sacks per game, most in the Power Five, second only to Old Dominion among all FBS teams. Buffalo quarterback Shador Sanders surely hoping to encounter less pressure from opposing defenses in 2024 as he saluted Colorado's reformed offensive line in a tweet on Thursday night. We'll go ahead and pull up the tweet. This is from Shador Sanders. The initial tweet was, "New Colorado offense, also known as the Saucy Gang Entertainment," interesting name choice there, "are gelling very well ever since workouts have started. The vibe in Boulder is much different this year." And Shador responded to that by saying, "Proud of the O-line group." Now, Nick, we know they've made a ton of additions at O-line, most notably Matthew Bedford, the Indiana transfer, Khalil Benson, the ex-Hoosier as well, Tyler Johnson from Houston, Justin Mears from UTEP, and most notably Jordan Seaton, the 5-star from IMG Academy, coming into the fold. There's also a couple other ones from a little bit smaller community colleges as well as Connecticut, but nonetheless, they've brought in a ton of offensive line talent to not only give them a brand new starting offensive line, but also give them some depth as well. So I think this was really just a great job by Deion Sanders to come in and think, hey, where do we need to improve? We really need to improve in the offensive line. Getting sacked pretty much 5 times a game isn't good for anybody. I don't think anybody can be successful doing that. So let's focus on that. They've knocked it out of the park, and I think Shador Sanders is very happy with the success. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this team. But Nick, let's ask Colorado fans in the comment section below. Colorado fans, you've now significantly upgraded your offensive line, but there might be a couple other position groups on this team that need some more help. So let us know what is another need for this Colorado team. Let us know in the comment section below. But Nick, what are your thoughts on this latest story about Colorado?
Well, I think it's indicative of the fact that Colorado has done a great job recognizing their biggest problem and doing a heck of a job fixing it, right? Because I think there has never been a team in college football history, in my opinion, and I know that's a hyperbolic statement, but to be totally honest, there's never been a team I've ever watched where the talent gap between one position group, and another position group was as massive as it was for the Colorado Buffs and their skill position guys on offense and their offensive line. Their skill position guys look like first round picks, look like an NFL team. Their offensive line looked like a D3 offensive line at times. I mean, it was embarrassingly bad. They were small, they were undersized, they were unathletic, and they couldn't block very well against quality defenses. UCLA being a prime example, Oregon's another good one. They were absolutely, totally, unequivocally eviscerated, right? It was ugly. And when you have guys like Shador Sanders and you have guys like Hunter and a bunch of other big-time athletes, that can't happen. And credit Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffs for going out this offseason and making a lot of big moves to upgrade that offensive line. And it's important to understand because people look at Colorado the way they finished, like, 4-8, very disappointing into the season. And it certainly was. This team's a lot closer because of the talent level they have at skill positions than a lot of people think. This offensive line that we're seeing, this new group, they don't have to be elite. They don't have to be stars. They don't have to be all conference. They just don't have to be terrible. If they're somewhat competent, this team is probably a top 25 team. And again, let's not forget the college football playoff is now 12 teams this coming season. I know it's a big leap between 4 wins to top 12, but with just a competent offensive line, they have a college football playoff offense, and certainly some guys on defense. Look at Hunter, of course, going both ways. So you look at the situation the Buffs are in. If this young offensive line that they're cobbling together can grow and develop, build that camaraderie, and more importantly, their execution down, then this is a college football playoff kind of contending team. They're being slept on a little bit in the media. Coach Prime brought a lot of media attention last year, and it was talked about a lot and for a lot of good reasons. But in terms of the direction of just a product on the field, this is the best I've felt about the Colorado Buffs, and frankly, since the 90s, it seems like, right? This is a program that not only has a direction and a strategy, they're doing a great job executing on it. And I think we'll see a lot of big results this coming fall because of it.
Yeah, Nick, and I want to go ahead and focus on next season and take a look at the schedule for the Buffs just to see what kind of competition they're going up. But before we look at the future, we kind of got to look at the past. Although Colorado only 4 wins, you look at the schedule, they played 6 top 25 teams last
Brutal
year.
schedule.
It was brutal. They played Oregon, one of the best teams in the country. They played Southern Cal at their absolute hottest. Southern Cal, that week 5 matchup, Southern Cal was on top of the world at the time. They played UCLA, a solid team. Oregon State, a solid team. Arizona, surprisingly, a pretty solid team last year. I think that the Buffs, they are really, really had a raw deal last year as far as coming in first time around, having to feel things out, and having such a brutal schedule. We turn now to this season and we look at the schedule. North Dakota State, I think that's a winnable game. Not a team to be slept on, though. They are sneaky, very, very talented, but they are now missing their head coach. We'll see how much that affects them in the coming year. Then you have Nebraska, tough game, but I think is winnable as seen by the game last year. They got Colorado State, Arizona, Utah, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Cincinnati, Kansas, Texas Tech, UCF. I don't think there's a single team on this roster, or on this schedule rather, that for this year that Colorado can't go into the game and think that they can win. I think overall that is a pretty doable schedule. I see no problem Colorado getting 7, 8 wins this season. I think, quite frankly, it would be a disservice if they were not to do that. But looking at the schedule this year for the Buffs, I think it is a very winnable, very doable schedule.